Make some noise for your host, Kid Copious.
What up, perps? Kid Copious back in the bunker. Purple State Party representing. To get right into this week. As if 2020 wasn't bad enough. 2021 starting off real fun, ain't it? I mean, right here we lost a Dodger legend, Tommy Lasorda. You know, getting that first, death that kind of hits you right out of the way. You know, just letting you know, hey, shit's still fucked up. People are still dying of COVID. Nobody's holding the Chinese accountable. You know, we're now finding out that the death toll in Wuhan was 3 times higher. Whatever. You know, they lied. Nobody's doing anything. I think mostly because our government is completely in the back pocket of the Chinese. But if they're not in the back pocket, they've noticed how the rich, the elite, and the politicians thrive in these communist countries. You know, for example, in Russia, rich people can get sirens and they can use them to move traffic. I mean, you know, if you were a rich politician, don't you think you'd want that? I guess so. Because once they get there, that's what they do. And our leaders, people who are supposed to be running this country, protecting our interests, keeping us safe, you know, keeping us vibrant and growing and all of that, they're just selling out for a quick buck. And to be honest with you, that's why they've had a problem with Trump this entire time. Because I don't think Trump was cutting deals like that. I don't think people were making the kind of money that they would make under other regimes, other monarchies. Because that's what we live in now. You know, we think of a monarch as a king. But when they had kings, they also had the landowners, the dukes, the viceroys, the blibbity-blobbities, and they all controlled people. And they all took taxes, and they all made people do whatever they wanted to do. And I think that's what, unfortunately, our government is turning into. An extended monarchy. You know, the same thing that we fought against in 1776. But, you know, time will prove me right, you know. But, you know, tonight's topic is really about, you know, the politicians, the wokeism, and the way the press is just completely one-sided now. They've completely lost their mind. They're not even serving a purpose anymore. This is an article from Cosmopolitan that this is healthy. But yet, doctors will tell you it's not healthy. It's not good for your joints. It's not good for your heart. It's not good for your breathing. One of the leading contributors to people who are dying of COVID is diabetes and obesity. And Cosmopolitan is proclaiming it to be healthy. And we're going to go along with it. We're just going to go along with it because nobody wants to point out where this is fundamentally flawed. We're just going to say it and people will believe it. And that's the problem. And it, you know, I get a large portion of my information through social media, links and things like that. I don't even bother with the news anymore because it's poppycock. They're just doing it for ratings and clicks. And from what I saw just in research for this one show, it just makes me sick how one-sided it is because they're not protecting us anymore. They're protecting a political party. And that is such a dangerous thing. That is really, really dangerous. It might be one of the most dangerous enemies we've ever faced in America. The fact that we don't have a watchdog anymore. Our watchdog has neutered itself and is now working for the bad guys. You know, and again, you know, we're not the brightest of whatever you want to, what species out there because we do stupid shit. And that's kind of why we need the media to sort of keep us on track, but they're not. They're diverting now. They're not keeping us on track. You know, right here, this is the true, I mean, it's from a normally comedy type site, but they have serious stuff too. And I mean, every day that I go out, I see masks strewn about. everywhere, every parking lot I go into. And that's what I do. I spend my day driving around and going to different businesses. And I see them everywhere. I mean, it's ungodly. Just walk through a Walmart parking lot and count how many masks you see. You know? These are the people who the government has figured out they can just use. They can put out a one-sentence proposition and get people to vote for it. But hidden below it, they're taking away, for example, here in California, they managed to take away Prop 13 from inheritors. So when I will never be able to live in my childhood home like my parents and I always thought I would. Someday I would inherit their house and it would stay in our family. But there's no way, because as soon as they die, I'm going to have massive tax bills. I'm going to have massive tax bills on all their properties. And I'm not going to be able to afford to keep my childhood home. I've lost that. And that's one of the things that I want people to keep in the back of their minds. You know, maybe right now it's really easy to go along with this bullshit. But when it affects you, like I've said before, that's why I left the Democratic Party. Bill Clinton started talking about employers providing health insurance for people over 40 hours. My boss didn't really get all of the nuances, so he cut my hours. He cut my hours to the point where I just ended up walking away because I wasn't making any money doing it. It was a job I loved. I was working at a video store, man. I ran everything. I ran the adult section. Your boy Kid loved videos. That was all about the movies. Not anymore, though. But at the heart of it, I saw this video on the Daily with Delilah. What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. And it's not. And the person who's stepping in between and separating us from our control is the media. That's what they do. You raise a question, you're banned. They shut your account down. They lie. They sugarcoat. They manipulate. One of the things that we hear all the time right now is that such and such believed in baseless theories about the election being rigged. I'm sorry, I said it before the election. Neither side was going to accept this election because of mail-in ballots. You're kidding yourself if you think the Democrats would have reacted better to Trump. They would have immediately gone after the 25th Amendment. That's one of the reasons she had it on standby. They would have, you don't think that the Capitol riot would have been worse had Trump won? Guaranteed. I don't see how, you can argue it all you want, but we saw the proof all year long. Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, Atlanta, all over this country. And what were they burning it down for? They were burning it down for a person that they didn't know, in a city they didn't live in a state they didn't live in, and a person who had contributed to their own deaths in some manner. Mostly by resisting arrest, which now in Los Angeles isn't even, okay, how's that going to work out? Does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if it makes sense to you, then I'd love for you to try to explain to me how resisting arrest should not be a chargeable offense. So we're going to get a little bit of the kind of the wacky stuff out of the way here. The whole amen a woman thing. That's the kind of platitudes that we are to expect from here on out for at least the next 4 years. Maybe 2. I don't know how the next election cycle, all that goes. But whatever. Let's just say the next 4 years. They're going to say things. They're going to ban words. They're going to ban books. They're going to ban sites. They're going to ban people. They're going to ban all of these things. But nothing's actually going to change. They're going to do some dumb shit. Here in California, they have an assembly bill that passed that has quotas for companies that include transgender people. That's fine. I don't care if you're transgender. I don't. You don't get any negatives and you don't get any positive points for that. You don't. You don't get cool points with me. I don't care. Literally don't care. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. But now companies are going to be forced to put a token in, at the very least, to fill some of these quotas, because they might not be able to find actually qualified people to fill these quotas. Any company that's operating in California is going to be subject to these rules. I mean, it's being sued right now because it somewhat violates some, privacy issues and things like that, because you're going to have to declare what you are. But I mean, I can just imagine now you're going to have young men seeking a job realizing, well, I might as well just identify as a woman because then I can fill a quota. So we're going to have a lot of tokens. And don't tell me that there's not people out there already doing that. I mean, we already had Elizabeth Warren claiming to be a Native American. So, I mean, it happens. I'm going to show you an example here in a minute, too, of another one. But there's all kinds of people, and that's going to happen. And if somebody's qualified for a job, they should get the job. If they're not qualified, they shouldn't get the job. I don't understand how we think that the government mandating certain, I shouldn't say mandating, oh my God. The government forcing companies to do things is a good idea. So, because it's some fun stuff. Ramen and Raw woman. Biden promises. See, I shouldn't say mandate. I have to say woman date. But meanwhile, we have people that are running out of money and losing their businesses because of this insipid lockdown that we have here in this state and across the country. Americans, please help me. I can't open my business and my family is starving. Congress, a woman. See, that's what you're going to get. I mean, that is what you're going to get. You're going to get platitudes, And one thing that I really want to make sure I mentioned is there are a lot of crazy people on the right. And they want to outlaw abortion. They are not big into immigration. They're not big into people of color. They're not big into same-sex marriages. But none of those things have been affected. They've not been affected. Whereas, if you look at what the Democrats, the crazies there, sanctuary cities, not charging people for crimes, allowing the homeless and the drug addicts to live on streets, that's giving stimulus money to illegal aliens, defunding the police. They think about this for a second. They want to take away your guns, right? They want to defund the police, and they want to find every reason to let criminals out on the streets. So they take away your guns, they take away the police, but they want to release criminals. And these are things that they've done. Look at California. I live here. I see exactly how they enact these crazy-ass plans that you would think they would never do that. Oh, no way. They would never do... Wait, they just did that. They just did that. We have to fill forms and stand in lines and go through background check after background check. A criminal just goes out on the streets and buys a gun, and then he can do whatever he wants. It's the way it is. But they don't enact severe penalties. Here in LA County, using a weapon is not even an offense you could add on to a charge anymore. But yet, they want to limit my ability to buy ammunition to defend my family. How does that make any sense? But they enact their crazy shit. Republicans don't seem to enact much of it. Oh, sure, we want to build a wall, but that's to keep illegal immigration out. Immigration's still coming. So within 24 hours, Democrats went from saying, man, I'm already so tired of this. You know what? Just do what you're going to do. 25th Amendment, impeachment, do whatever you're going to do. It's going to be a shit show, and the more shit you throw, eventually people are going to see it. Eventually you're going to get around to fucking over the people who have been protecting you and voting for you. Eventually you will, because that's the way it is. I mean, that's the same thing that happened. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Germans in Nazi Germany were perfectly happy with some of the things Hitler instituted at first. But when the bombs started raining down, then their opinions changed. That's history. I'm sorry. That's history. It happened to the kings of England. It happened to the colonizers all around the world. Eventually, they were gone. England lost all of its colonies during World War II. Got the shit bombed out of it. Things change. History has proven that. You think we're special? Nah, we ain't special, man. Time, Mother Nature, the universe, it's all way bigger than us. But we were talking about Hitler, and it's, you read the list. Banning guns, yes. Getting rid of God, yes. More or less, yes. Banning church services, they have actually done that. Burn Bibles and books in the streets, they metaphorically, they're doing that by changing history books, rewriting history books. This whatever project that tries to prove that America is nothing but whatever. Tore down statues, yes. Burn the flag, got rid of any and all history that they did not agree with. Okay, they're doing that. Got rid of the public police so that only the rich could afford it. Defund the police, yep, they did that, check. Put their country in a state of fear, yep, with a little help from the Chinese and the bat flu. Created domestic terrorist organizations that got rid of anything and anyone they disagreed with, the brown shirts. That was the fascist. And the best part is they call them the anti-fascists, the Antifa. BLM. BLM was formed by Marxists. They themselves said they're Marxists. They themselves said they were Marxists. Not me. It's not a baseless theory. What Adolf did in Germany is not a baseless theory. That's what actually happened. That's what he did. And right now, you're fine with it because you're on that side. Just wait. Because remember, it was the Democrats. It was Tipper Gore who first put warning labels on things. Just wait. Just wait. They are going to start clamping down on things that you wouldn't even imagine. They wouldn't. You know? All kinds of things. You know? They might not like the freedom of a Discord. So, Discord's got to go. And then it affects you. But just wait. Just, you know. Just hold tight because you'll see it. It's a guarantee. So we had those riots. You know, of course they call them riots. They didn't call them peaceful protests. But, you know, before we get into all this, one point that I think really stands out is unlike the other riots that we had that affected everyday people in communities that did not need more buildings burned down, did not need more economic strife, this protest, this riot, took it right to their doorstep. See, that's what happens. If you knew your history, you'd be so frightened right now. But you're frightened because you were on the wrong side of it. Not because you're seeing the bigger picture. That these rich politicians, these elitists, the Zuckerbergs, the Pelosi's, the Newsoms, all of them, they sit in a fenced-off house with security, and then they pass laws for the rest of us. Sitting in their castle, protected by a moat, they pass laws that affect us. At least this time, the barbarians got inside the castle. And at least this time, the kings and the queens got to feel what it's like. Because they applauded when BLM and Antifa was doing it to average citizens. When they were terrorizing anyone they wanted to. When they went to Jackie Lacey's house in the early morning. Look that up. Her husband pulled a gun on him. And that's why she's not the DA. We got this fucktard Gascon. Oh, hello, I'm Gascon. I'm going to pass bad laws. Gascon is not going to prosecute sex crimes, underage drinking, resisting arrest. So kids are going to get caught and parents might not even know. Ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. And people buy into it. They don't buy into it. They're not told. The media does its job. Right here, the media does its job. Facebook blacklists Donald Trump. Of course they do. They didn't blacklist people who were calling for violence in other places, helping load up vans of agitators and stacking bricks. No. He provided money to people to get out of jail. He organized it so criminals could quickly get their rights to vote back again so they could vote for Biden. Or so they were just on the record so his ass could vote for Biden more than once. Because we already have that. I mean, America's Got Talent. You can vote up to 10 times with each device. So we've been conditioned to believe one vote is not enough. You should be able to vote 10 times. And apparently, in this election, you can just vote with other people's votes. You can't prove that all those mail-in ballots were legit. You can't prove it. Nobody's trying to. I find it hard to believe that over 100 million signatures or 50 million signatures, however many it was, were actually checked. I find that hard to believe. I find it really hard to believe. Plus, I also know that I was really good at forging my parents' signature. You know? Whatever. Yeah. We're just going to skip that one. Candace Owens. In 1 year, the left has normalized shutting down businesses, churches, forcing mass citizens, censoring private citizens, and world leaders. This is not, right there, this is not for your safety, you ignorant fools. Wake up before it's too late. I couldn't say it better myself. It's about control. It's about conditioning. That's what people are upset about. Trump wasn't trying to condition people. You can believe the media what you want, but you show me where he was racist. You show me how getting record numbers of black employment, Latino employment, female employment, how is that a bad thing? How are opportunity zones a bad thing? How are 4 peace treaties in the Middle East a bad racist thing? Okay. That's what happened. That's what he did. But now, we're going to let the crazies in. Democrats. Trump is a fascist dictator. Also Democrats. We tried to find a reason to throw him in jail for 4 years. We physically attacked his supporters. We burned down half the country. And then we banned him from social media. That's pretty much true. They concocted the Russian collusion. Antifa has attacked elderly Trump supporters many a times who weren't doing anything to agitate it. Burned down half the country. Probably not half the country. We'll fact check that. Probably not half the country, but a large portion of it. And disproportionately in poor areas, of course. That's why nobody seemed to really want to stop it. They're like, let it burn. Because it wasn't their house. Unlike the Capitol riot. That was at least at their house. At least it accomplished that. It let them know how it felt. Will it change their minds? Probably not. Because they're deluded fucking idiots. Yeah, actually, I shouldn't even call them idiots because they're pretty smart. They figured out how to make a shit ton of money being politicians. I mean, it probably wasn't that hard. All they had to do was read a book. You know? But this is the same thing. COVID rules for thee. COVID rules for me. There's the king. See? Right there. Black and white. That's what's going on both sides of the fence, but even worse for the Democrats because the Democrats lie about who they're representing. Republicans leave the middle class alone. That's who they're trying to appeal to. The middle class. That's who they're going after, the average American. But they're not fucking me over to get what they got. The Democrats are. Because they're putting all of these unnecessary taxes. I'm sure your side right now is cheering, oh, they're going to legalize marijuana. You know what that's going to mean? In LA County, I bet you we're paying about a 40% tax. The federal government will add on a 10%, and then we'll be paying around 40% sales tax. And what are they going to do with that money? We've seen in the recent budget that they released, a shit ton of that money is going to go overseas. We're paying $10 million to Pakistan for gender studies. Like, if they want gender studies, pay for it yourself. Are you kidding me? The left in America are following the footsteps of China, so it's no surprise with their obsession with silencing political opponents. There will be a reckoning one day. Stay strong, guys. Right? That's what I was saying. You know? They control the media more than you think. They got shit on them. They can pull certain immunities from groups like Facebook. You know? And now they're doing it with the social media app Parler. They're blaming Parler for inciting the Capitol riots. And so it's being pulled from the Apple store, the Google store, the Amazon store. You see? That's what they do. They're going to say it's to protect, but bullshit. Because all over the internet are people inciting violence. And they don't get shut down. They don't get shut down. Look, right there. Jack gave him money. And he was agreeing and instigating. Right there, Colin Kaepernick. He didn't get banned for that. Basketball player who had a burning picture in, I believe, Atlanta. And he said, burn, baby, burn. Burn it to the ground. People say, celebrities coming out saying, as long as the cops are murdering black folks, you know, blah, 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 blah. They didn't get banned. So, what? It's one-sided. It's just clearly one-sided. It is what it is. It's not going to change. We're talking about racial quotas. Here's one right here. Human rights attorney accused of posing as Latina for years. You know, that's what happens. That's what happens because you're creating these rewards for all of these different groups. You know, would my life would it change anything if I said that you needed to refer to me as Italian instead of white? Would I then become in a group? Because I mean, Italy's like the size of California, so we're not a giant group. We're not, you know, exactly like the English. You know, is that what's next? Should we all start demanding that you can't refer to us as white? No. Because what a fucking bother and what an insignificant thing. But whatever. And just like that, the left supports police. Oh, man. Yeah. Mostly peaceful protesters breach U.S. Capitol. And that's how it would have been if Trump had won. Mostly peaceful protesters. And they would have been lamenting Ashley Babbitt, who was shot and killed coming in. And the other people who suffered heart attacks and strokes. And one poor lady, a recovering addict, much like myself, who was trampled to death. You know, but instead, I read a bunch of articles today, and it didn't even mention their names. And the articles that did mention their names from a few days ago were sure to point out that they believed crazy theories and baseless theories and right-wing theories. You know, meanwhile, the paramedic, the so-called Antifa paramedic that was shot by Rittenhouse, you know, they glossed over the fact that he was participating in a riot. He was aiding people who were in a riot and was running at somebody with a loaded gun in his hand. They gloss over that. It's one-sided. And that should frighten you on your side because you might be okay over there, but eventually they'll get around to you. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't from this one. This is from the Brett Kavanaugh. Remember that shit show? Yeah. They occupied the U.S. Capitol. Oh, okay. But anyhow, enough of that bizarre rant. Look at that. The Woody Show coming through for me again. Love them. I listen to them Monday through Friday, man. Like 5 to 10 or something like that. I don't know. Look them up. It's the best we've got on LA radio. You suck. We are lucky COVID happened in 2020. Imagine this happened in 2003. Months in your house with a Nokia 3310 playing Snake. Oh, man. When you have to go to a hospital in a socialist country. I'm in danger. Oh, Ralph Wiggum. I love Ralph Wiggum memes. Signature verification is a security cornerstone of the banking and credit card industries. Shouldn't it also be for voting? Yeah, that was kind of my point earlier, but what cracks me up is the name Vino and Vitos. That's classic. I don't know how you get it. Even Mexico uses voter ID. But see, here we've labeled voter ID racist. So why? Why? If somebody doesn't have an ID, they shouldn't vote. I don't understand why one of the political groups supports this. Supports the idea that just whatever. Because that's how you rig it. You could just you could dump out all the mail-in ballots and replace them with other mail-in ballots. It's not like hand-punched ones. There's not some sort of system that counts them, and there's some sort of checks and balances that prove that one person voted one time. Mail-in ballots, come on, man. We knew this was a shit show. We knew it was going to end up like this, no matter who won. Double Jim to finish the show. Double Jim. Gasoline is a fossil fuel which came from decomposed animals. Vegans cannot drive. Oh, man. That's funny. Oh, God. See, it's one thing if you just do it as a diet. It's another when you do it as a lifestyle. Because when you do it as a lifestyle, it's just... Oh, God. It's so stupid, man. But I guess you can't. And you're going to have to check, like, whatever state you live in, how they make their electricity, you know? Because they might be using gasoline. But there you go. Turning Point USA. Wonder how much longer they're going to be allowed to post. You can trust the government or you can understand history, but you can't do both. You can trust the government or you can understand history, but you can't do both. Yep. Copious out.